Hey Upper Room kids, it's Pastor Mike, and today I want to tell you about my 10 favorite BGMC characters. That's right, I'm talking about my 10 favorite BGMC characters today. And I want you to know that just because I really like a card doesn't necessarily mean that I really like that character. Some cards are really awesome looking. There are characters with such cool cards, but I wouldn't consider them a favorite character of mine. There's also organizations I really love, but you won't find their mascot in my top 10. For example, I love Free International, but you're not going to find Roscoe O'Reilly in my top 10. They're just not really characters that resonate with me. And I love World Serve, but Jerry Can doesn't crack the top 10 today. So you're going to hear about what my 10 favorite characters are, and I'll talk a little bit about why they're my favorite characters, what's special about them to me, even if it kind of surprises you why I chose the characters that I did, okay? So coming in at number 10, we're going to go with Susie the Star. Susie the Star, yes, may sound like a crazy one for me to be interested in, but I really like the idea of a mascot that's a star. And if you know a little bit about me and kind of how I grew up in the Assemblies of God, then you know that I'm also a big fan of missionettes, which I didn't get to be in missionettes, but missionettes is, or what's now called Impact Girls, is a ministry to young girls that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, and being a star is one of their levels of study, and when you're a certain age, you can be a star. And I don't know, I just really like Susie the Star. I think she's an awesome, positive character and a great mascot for missionettes. Coming in at number 9, we have Gladys the Bear. Now, I would really say Gladys and Graham together. I kind of see them as a group, a pair, but I really like Gladys and Graham the Bear. I don't know, I like bears, but they're also really cute. So, I mean, it makes a perfect mascot, makes a perfect character, and I love their little stuffed animals that you can get. So, Gladys and Graham, both of them kind of fall in at my number 9 spot. My number 8 spot is going to go to Kira the Panda. I think Kira is yet another cute character. I know, my 10th, 9th, and 8th spot they're all really cute characters. I promise I'm going to get into some of the more cool characters here in a few minutes. But I really like Kira. I think she's a cute little panda, which makes her a perfect character for Asia's little ones. And I don't know, I really like pandas. And so Kira to me is my 8th favorite character. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on my 7th through my 1st spot because these characters mean a lot to me and they resonate with me quite a bit. At my number 7 favorite spot, I have Captain Commission. Yes, a lot of people aren't a fan of Captain Commission. He only shows up in Champions and Disasters so far, and I hope to make some more cards with him, but I love the idea of a mascot that's a superhero, has superpowers, is a Christian superhero. You've seen some of my videos maybe where I've talked about how I love superheroes. When I was growing up, I wanted to write my own comic books and stories about characters with powers that fought evil, and so Captain Commission to me is a pretty awesome character. I love Captain Commission. The only reason he doesn't come in a little bit higher is there's not much to do with him. We don't know much about him. He's there. He's not really got an organization necessarily that he works with, but he also doesn't have a lot of history and much that we know about him. But I love Captain Commission. Coming in at number 6, we have Buzzy the Buzzer. Now, if you're familiar with my top 10 favorite cards, Buzzy the Buzzer's card is number 10 on my top 10 BGMC cards of all time. Partly because of his character, but I also think the card looks really cool. But he's just not in the top 5 in terms of characters, but he is really special to me because he represents Bible Quiz, which is something I did growing up where I would compete against people with Bible knowledge. We would learn about the Bible, and I still retain and know a lot of those answers and that information today. And as a youth pastor, I'm still able to pull from my knowledge that I gained from being in Bible Quiz. And so I love Buzzy the Buzzer. He represents an early part of my life where I was using a buzzer system to answer some questions. So I love Buzzy the Buzzer. We don't have a lot to work with in there though as well. So number 5, coming in with our top 5 here, we've got Samir the Camel. Samir the Camel, I don't know, I really like Samir the Camel as a mascot, as a character. Live Dead is not an organization I'm super familiar with. We've given some money to them before through Speed the Light and BGMC, but I just like the idea of a camel. I think a camel is a great mascot, and I think the cool thing about a camel is they can carry a bunch of stuff on their back. I do know that I do think that a little bit of the reason that he's one of my favorite characters is I think every one of his cards is awesome looking. Now again, this is not the same thing as them being my favorite card, but I do think the artwork on his cards is pretty cool. I think he's a pretty awesome looking character. He looks tough. He looks strong. He looks like a guy that I'd really be interested in talking to and getting to know. So Samir's my number 5. My number 4 is going to be Royal Ranger. Yet another character that doesn't really have very many cards, but that means a lot to me as a young person. I was a Royal Ranger. I was in the Royal Rangers Club. We did that. That was kind of the boys' version of missionettes. And so Royal Ranger to me represents something that I was doing as a kid. And I also just kind of like the idea of a character that's just a human. And a regular guy, but also has all these awesome skills. Royal Rangers was about learning a lot of skills, some of them outdoor skills, some of them indoor skills. I remember when I was a kid, we made slingshots, like David made a slingshot to kill Goliath. And so being a Royal Ranger was really special to me. And now Royal Ranger's a BGMC character, and he cracks the top 5. He's number 4 on my list. Now we're coming to top 3 territory. And these are probably a given. You're probably not going to be surprised about these 3 characters being my top 3. Number 3 is going to be Grandpa Buddy. I love Grandpa Buddy. I'm not honestly a huge fan of all of his cards, but I love him as a character. I love the idea of this old character, this older Buddy Barrel that represents the Buddy Barrel from ages ago. Because, Buddy Barrel's been a mascot for many, many decades. 50 plus years he's been around. And Grandpa Buddy just kind of represents a character that is a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and I just think he's awesome. I just think he's cool. I don't know anybody that hates Grandpa Buddy. He's just an awesome character, so he's my number 3. My number 2 character is Buddy Barrel. He's probably a lot of people's favorite. Buddy Barrel means a lot to me because when I was a kid, I had a Buddy Barrel. Buddy Barrel has gone through a lot of changes over the years, and I'm glad that they've cemented some of those changes in the BGMC cards. You guys know my favorite card is 90s Buddy, and so I love the 90s Buddy look for Buddy Barrel. I also kind of like the new look. I've come to terms with it. I understand it. There's so many different versions of Buddy Barrel. He's just a dynamic, awesome character that represents an organization, BGMC, that is awesome. And if it wasn't for Buddy Barrel, probably none of this would have started. Not the trading card game, none of this other stuff. He is an awesome character that represents reaching the world for Jesus. But you guys probably know what my number 1 character is. I don't think you have to guess. My favorite character of all time of BGMC trading cards, he'll never be knocked out of that number 1 spot. That is Speedy Delight. I love Speedy Delight. I love the idea of a Jeep, an awesome looking Jeep being a mascot, but it's really not that. It's that I love Speed the Light, and I love what Speed the Light as an organization does. As a youth pastor, Speed the Light means a lot to me. That's the teen version of BGMC, and so our students in youth group constantly give to Speed the Light, and we've helped buy things like Jeeps so that missionaries can get around the world. And, Speedy Delight's just an awesome character all around. I love him. And so those are my top 10 favorite BGMC characters. Let me know in the comments, what are your favorite characters?